little bit in third grade now. Yeah, like they don't set it up as X and Y, but they'll set up, 3 times blank equals 24, which I'm sure we did and you folks did, but it's different. All right, yesterday, whether you were here or not here, we were taking a look at the schemes. And remember, the schemes was the arrangement of words that we would be taking a look at. So a lot of the different types of schemes dealt with repetition. Your writing, so I don't want to disrupt your mojo. For the quiz that we're going to do on Tuesday, it is, as I said, matching. You have words on one side, definitions on the other. I think, if anything, what can be problematic for some folks is obviously remembering what all the words mean, but think about some of the terms that we had. Alliteration, assonance, antimetaboly, anadiplosis, antithesis. So the A's tend to kind of think throws some folks off because you can sometimes go, ooh, antimetaboly, that's that big long A word that's hard to pronounce. And then you see anadiplosis, oh wait, that's that other big long hard A word that's difficult to pronounce. Now I need to try to remember what those two are. So do make sure you're kind of familiar with, certainly the terms. Don't just go into the whole scanning thing of, ooh, if it's A, it's going to be this form of repetition. Because there's a whole slew of different types of repetition that are out there. But yesterday, most of the stuff that we were taking a look at, they were all schemes, which is going to be syntax, so arrangement of words, how you place things. Tropes is more of traditional, like figurative language. You're not changing the arrangement of the words, you're changing the actual meaning of the words. So the similes, metaphor, personification, those types of things are now what kind of start to show up in tropes. And it's not that one is more effective than another. I do think you see more schemes show up because it's a natural emphasis of repeating things. One thing that you kind of have to worry about anytime you start going into metaphors or analogies and things like that, it doesn't always relate to the audience quite as much. Whereas if you're emphasizing repeating things, you can start to kind of beat those ideas into their brains a little bit. But schemes are arrangement of words. Tropes is going to be where you're kind of changing the meaning of the words. This is not a trope, but I just love this video, so we have to watch it. Have you ever seen thunder snow? Just wait.
Oh, yes! 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 We got it, baby! We got it! We got it! Woo! Woo! We got it! Yes!
It's like getting an A on the calc test.
Listen to that! Oh, baby! Oh, again! Again! That's a twofer!
Twofer.
That's a twofer, baby!
That's a twofer.
Yes!
It's thunder.
That's a twofer!
And snow.
Twofer, baby! Oh my
Thunder,
goodness!
snow.
Yes! Yes! Again! That's a 3! You gotta be kidding me! You gotta be kidding me! Barak!
3, baby, in 10 minutes.
Oh my God! The winds have really picked up in through here. And there's another one! That's number... You gotta be kidding me!
Just gotta let it sink in there for a moment. This is a big moment.
Wow! You can have your $500 million jackpot in Powerball or whatever the heck it was, but I'll take this, baby. Four lightning strikes, 4 episodes of Thunder Snow. I could hear thunder, so we had another one. So we actually had five strikes, 5 thunder. I mean, this is just a total change. Literally within an hour. Was that another one? Was that? Oh my good, dude, that's number 6. You gotta be kidding me. Dude, I'm telling you, this is Chicago. Postel, this is Chicago all over again. We're just sitting in the middle of it.
That's a twofer, baby. If there's anything you take from these, just remember, that's a twofer. Should you actually make a shot tomorrow and get fouled at the same time, you should yell out, that's a twofer.
If I make a free throw, would be.
Yes. And you could say that too then. But whatever you do in life, Kendall, be passionate like that guy.
Probably just not on camera.
Probably not.
I mean, when I read an essay and it's that high quality,
Have you ever read an essay?
no.
It's
But I'll just throw that thing down,
An essay is that.
start doing fist pumps. You gotta be kidding me. Of course, if I say that's a twofer, then that's really not very good for,
Yeah.
on that AP scale. So that was more Jake's, but it's okay. Yep, just making sure you're there. All right, so again, we're taking a look at tropes, which is going to be the changing of meaning of words. Metaphor, I think you can take a guess what the next one's going to be, since the first one is metaphor. I'm sure you're certainly familiar with it. So we have that implied comparison between two things. Not using like or as, but certainly with metaphor compared to a simile. It tends to be a stronger comparison that you're making. If you say something like or as, you're making that connection pretty apparent to the audience. But if you are going, it is, this, or it is the same, you say as, you're going to be doing simile. But if you're using certain like the term is, you're making that comparison much more direct. So metaphor, I think, can leave a little bit more of a stronger impression upon your audience. So obvious little examples as opposed to it is hot, saying the flames of hell set us ablaze in August, or February the 24th when we're going to be 75 degrees. That player is aggressive. That player is an animal. If you were an animal, what kind of animal would you be?
Cat.
Dog. What's your dog? What's the dog's name that you're like? Bruno. That's right. Sarah, what would you be? Would anyone be the iguana on the announcements this morning? Did you not watch the announcements this morning?
I mean, not like that.
I mean, it was like,
I was in the bathroom for something. So maybe it was in the beginning.
yes, it was the
Yeah,
intro.
I was in the bathroom. I'm sorry.
That was one crafty iguana.
I'm kind of excited to see it.
I don't know what Becca would be. I see a porcupine when I look at Luke. No, I don't see a polar bear. Ryan has like grizzly bear. Jake could be an iguana. You could be an iguana. I don't know what Jess would be. Ferret.
Me?
Yeah,
What?
ferret. I was going to say mole, but I'm trying to catch him in my yard, so that would really be negative for you.
A ferret is a negative?
I'm not trying to kill one the way I currently am, so,
True.
you know. This is Bill Clinton's first inaugural address, but ceremony is held in the depth of winter, taking place, within January. But by the words we speak and the faces we show the world, we force a spring reborn in the world's oldest democracy. So certainly much more of metaphor taking place where they're not literally going to be causing the change of seasons, but bringing in new light, new day, new kind of beginning, rebirth, reborn. And then also his vice president, Al Gore, a little about 22 years ago, there was bombing in Oklahoma City that took place. So at the dawn of spring last year, a single act of terror brought forth the long, cold winter in our hearts. So seasonal, certainly, you do have that spring-winter comparison taking place with both of those. Mentioned to you that since we had metaphor, we needed to certainly then go with simile, just to clarify those two. This connection tends to be a little bit more explicit since you're using something like or as. So we had the flames of hell set us ablaze in August. This one would be a little bit different. It's hot as hell in here. So said Dante as he's going through his different realms and levels. Or that player is like a scared mouse out there. Hopefully not the case for too many people. Or ferret. Addie wanted to wear shorts this morning because she knew it was going to be so warm.
Did you let her?
Well, she was still sleeping, but I said no short day. But looks like Joseph and Luke are going short day. Ryan, you going shorts today?
Yeah.
Yep. Jake, shorts? Okay. Looks like Steven's got short. Nick, you're going shorts.
I feel like guys wearing shorts is different.
Guys wear shorts all the time.
Yeah.
Aaron's got his shorts going.
They have shorts and those shorts.
I usually wore shorts at least once a month, I think, in high school. It was an achievement. I think that set me up for success. Hey, voted most likely to succeed at the 1998 Brashear High School senior class prom.
You succeed. Where did you live?
In a house?
Oh, well, obviously.
What do you mean, where did I live?
You grew up in the
Pittsburgh.
city, didn't you? Yeah.
North side?
No, Brashear's not Northside. Brashear's
You can go there.
You can. Well, with the because I think it was like the computer science school or something like that. You could go to different ones. Like I went to Shenley for a little bit. May it rest in peace. I don't even think anything's in that building anymore. It's a shame. Oliver was the most confusing building though because it was a triangle. I always thought it was a rectangle. So I would like walk, and I went too far and all that stuff. Who knew? Anyway, what are you judging me? You went to Brashear?
I'm not judging you.
It's my alma mater.
Okay.
Go Bulls. We used to be the Bullets. Then they realized that wasn't a good idea.
This kid that I work with in Dix, he went there and he like thought like a shooting was there. He like got kind of like shot and like skinned his head. He still had to like go to the hospital for it. So I don't know if it was like that back then, but like that's just why I asked.
We had a paddy wagon that kind
Were you
of.
imagine Mr. Kid being in a situation like that? In high school?
Don't mess with this. Hyperbole. So you're doing exaggeration for emphasis. So you kind of go back to someone fishing or whatever. I caught a fish this big, that whole kind of thing. Or in Little League, you hit the ball and it went through the clouds. This morning there was hyperbole as I drained a three-pointer with Mr. Mazer in my face, and Mr. Proctor said that ball hit the rafters, which it did not, but it was a good-looking shot. So you are trying to emphasize something for height and effect. So you take Holden Caulfield from The Catcher in the Rye, as opposed to someone simply going, I have a lot of gray hairs. You would go, I have gray hair, I really do. One side of my head, the right side, is full of millions of gray hairs, where with Holden, generally, he tends to be the king of hyperbole. You're probably looking at one or two hairs over on that side or something like that. But you're certainly doing it for the sake of emphasis. Where you have to be careful is if people don't realize you're doing hyperbole, what can it come off as? I'm thinking from a credibility standpoint, as a lie. So, not that you have to go, okay, this is an example of hyperbole, but you want to make sure that the example that you do use, it's not something that your audience or your opponent would misconstrue as you simply trying to tell a tall tale, lie to the face, or anything along those lines. So if you do go with hyperbole, it can be extremely effective. Just make sure it doesn't kind of come off as being a lie, because that could certainly have a negative impact on that ethos, especially if you're doing something like the spar debate where you have the class vote is going to be significant. Oh, we got the sun today. Analogy. In English class, probably certainly familiar with the term of extended metaphor. Long simile you don't hear too often. Analogy is basically the combo deal of those two. So it could be an extended metaphor or a long simile, but the idea is where you make a comparison between these two things for the purpose of furthering a line of reasoning, drawing an inference, being able to come to a conclusion. If you make a one-time comparison, you do a simile or a metaphor in like one sentence of a speech or within an essay, and it's done. After that one sentence, you don't come back to it, it's going to be a simile or a metaphor. But if you base, doesn't have to be a whole entire speech, but if you base like a large significant portion, like a paragraph around a comparison, and you keep coming back to that comparison, now you have an analogy that would be taking place. So if it's a point comparison that you reference multiple times, you're dealing with analogy. If it's just a one-time comparison, simile, metaphor would be what you are working with at that point. So Bono from U2 has been dealing with AIDS, poverty campaigns with Africa. So wishing for an end to AIDS and extreme poverty in Africa is like wishing that gravity didn't make things so heavy. So is like wishing. We know we're dealing with a simile. We can wish it, but what can we really do about it? And then he keeps coming back to this further and further within the speech that he's giving. That's what's going to give it that analogy comparison. The fact that he keeps coming back to it over and over and over again. Do you know the Bono snapping his fingers story? He's at a concert, giving a concert, U2, stops in the middle of the song. Every time I snap my fingers, a child in Africa dies. So what does the guy in the crowd yell out? Stop snapping your fingers then. He didn't quite pick up on the analogy part. Oh well. Vince Vaughn talking about Owen Wilson, from Wedding Crashers and a couple others. When you work with someone like Owen Wilson, I kind of feel like a jockey on the back of a great horse like Secretariat. My job is to just hold on. So take a concept and then develop for a little bit further reasoning. I'd say, again, if for your purposes, if it's a paragraph or longer within your speech, you're making an analogy. But if it's just like a one-line simile or metaphor. When we do your next speech assignment, you are going to have, really your next couple speech assignments, you are going to have to incorporate elements of eloquence. So you can do a simile, you can do the metaphors, alliteration, whatever the case you want. A lot of times people will use personalization. Personalization means you bring yourself into the speech, or people close to you, like your personal experiences, but you bring yourself into the speech, and you do it in a manner where you are personally tied to the content of the speech, the idea that you're looking at. When you have the requirement of you need to use, let's say, 3 examples of eloquence, sometimes people will look at their speech or the ideas that they're going to say and go, ooh, I have the word I, or I have the word my, I therefore have personalization. But the example they'll do would be something along the lines of, I think that the world should, ... You don't have personalization at that point because you're not explaining how you or close members, friends, family have been affected by an issue. Whereas in Martin Luther King's I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they'll not be judged by the color of skin, but by the content of their character. He is putting his children in the situation that he's writing about. So simply using the word I, my, we, us doesn't necessarily guarantee that it will be personalization. You have to make sure you incorporate yourself into the issue at hand, the content that you're really trying to look at for. We haven't had enough A words, so let's throw in a few more. Allusion, reference to a previous work, historical event, person. For allusion to work, you have to know what is being referenced. So sometimes people will think they're making allusion, but if the audience has no idea what you're talking about, then it's technically not going to be the case. Allusions can be direct or indirect. So in this case, Thomas Jefferson believed that to preserve the very foundations of our nation, we would need dramatic change from time to time. Well, this is our time, let us embrace it. This is going to be a clear, direct allusion since he says Thomas Jefferson. If a person within a speech was making reference to, and it's significant that all of us have life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, that would be viewed more as an indirect allusion that you haven't said the Declaration of Independence by name, but you're still looking at bringing in that concept. If you don't state something indirect, if you do state it, it's direct. It's not that one's better than the other. Certainly a direct allusion makes things a little bit clearer, probably for your audience, so that they know exactly what you are dealing with. Then imagery, sensory words, which isn't going to be anything really new for us. Just keep in mind, anytime you're doing imagery or sensory words, it does not have to be sight. It can be other senses as well. Taste, touch, smell, hear. It's kind of hard, I would probably for most of us to maybe incorporate something like smell, into a speech, unless you're having props with you. You're going to bring in grandma's cookies or apple pie or your own little Scentsy warmer. But you certainly can still allude to other things simply besides views. But visual things are generally the ones that are probably going to stand out most. So standing watch on distant borders, shipwreck of communism came years of relative quiet, years of repose, years of sabbatical, and then came a day of fire. So a lot of visual imagery would be taking place with that one. Again, doesn't matter which one you go with, but you would want to go with the type of imagery, sensory words that are going to best kind of probably fulfill the place that you're at, the setting, the location. Those could all certainly have aspects and influences that could kind of determine which ones you're going to take a look at. Schemes, arrangement of words, syntax, trope, figurative meaning, more of the metaphor, figurative language, literary kind of device, the traditional ones that we think about. This is the last one that we have, so you don't have any more. On Monday, we're going to do a review for all of them. We'll take a look at actually Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream speech, because he uses just about every form of eloquence within that, so it's going to be us identifying it. 10 minutes isn't going to give us enough time to really kind of get too far with it. On Tuesday, beginning of class is when we're going to do the quiz, short quiz, 10 questions, 10 points. It's going to be matching up. You'll have 10 terms, 10 options, so you don't even have to worry about extra terms in there. You certainly do have more than 10 words, so just make sure you look over all of them, so whichever ones pop up you're okay with. Google Classroom, if you weren't here yesterday, the Prezi is on there, as well as the recorded lessons, so you can take a look at that. And then also for all of you on Google Classroom, the Quizlet links are there. So if you want to use Quizlet for all the forms of eloquence, flashcards, those are available. Also, remember, if you weren't here yesterday, Sideboard, I'd grab the turnitin.com, as well as the assignment sheet for the article analysis. In the next few days, please try to remember to create your account on Turnitin to sign up with my course. If you already have an existing sign-in, just use the class code. But if you're not using it this year, create an account. But you want to make sure that's working before the whole submission time rolls around. Because remember, you're not giving me a paper copy, you're just submitting through Turnitin. And then you'll get your feedback, your grades, your turned in. You don't have to deal with my handwriting, which many of you know is not pretty. You have the worst handwriting.
She doesn't even know.
I wouldn't say ever.
She doesn't even know what she
Really?
writes.
Yeah.
Like she can't even understand what she writes.
She forgets. Like if you tell her to go back and read something, she doesn't know.
This is literally
She
the
can't
most
write
she
it.
writes.
I'm not gonna know what it says anywhere.
Andy Fitzpatrick graduated, I don't remember if it was 2 or 3 years ago. His was, you need to type up your TW.
That's what Mr. Howe told her. He's like, you're gonna have to start typing it.
Yeah, Andy was the only one who I ever had to do that. I think he did that with Andy too.
Well, how did you do that? You just give him a laptop?
No, he would write it, and then I would photocopy it. So I still had the original, and then give him this photocopy and go, okay, type that up. So that if I was thinking, hey, did you change something, I still had the original.
Yeah, but you can't read the original one, so what's the point?
No, I could. It just took much longer than I chose to spend on one of those things.
Probably cheated and all this, he was never even on.
He didn't. If he did, he did not cheat as well as a ferret would have.
Were you someone that enrolls